If you have watched a few of my videos before, you'll know that I'm the type of guy to play every single aspect of the game during a league, hopping from one mechanic to the next day in and day out, and because of that I'm pretty knowledgeable on the state of most league mechanics and farms in the game. So in this video I've made the tier list that ranks strategies all the way from Awakened Harvest to Strongbox pilfering farming down to Meatsacks. Not absolutely every strat is in here, but this spreadsheet is something that I plan on always updating throughout a league and in future leagues, so if a crazy strat is discovered, it will end up here. We've got this general tier list here on the first page, and each strategy will link to a tab that quickly shows the best Scarabs to use, maps to run, the Atlas craft and Atlas tree, some tips specific to the strat, and I'll link to a YouTube video pertaining to the strat specifically. Most of the videos are made by me, but I haven't made a video on absolutely everything yet, so I've linked to some other creators and we'll shout them out as we go. First off, a couple of things. The Atlas trees are still 3.26 right now, which is slightly outdated, but they will be updated as soon as the planner sites update with the new one. This tier list is not ordered within the tiers, and there's some strategies that we cannot judge right now since they received pretty heavy nerfs, so they're down in the question mark tier. Also, don't look at a strategy in B tier, for example, and assume it's bad. Realistically, everything in this tier list that isn't down here in F tier is extremely good for currency. There's just small things that separate the good from the great. Before I get into each specific strategy, I'll give a quick summary of how this league is looking when it comes to farming. No mercenaries this league, combined with map modifier effect and quant on tier 17s being heavily nerfed, is going to result in quite a big difference in loot this league compared to the last one. You could argue that last league was top 2 juiciest leagues we've ever had. The evolving shrine Alva was dropping mirrors like no strategy has ever done before outside of Affliction. This league, well, I don't believe it's going to be a complete loot drought like Calandra. It will definitely be noticeably lower. For example, strategies which just drop raw loot, such as Magic, Blight, Explosion Farming, or Ethereal All-Flame Farming, while they're still existing in the game, they will be worse than the last league. And the other raw loot strategies like Evolving Alva and the best or unique Blight were either directly heavily nerfed or just straight up dead and don't exist anymore. So don't expect to be having multiple divine drops per map this league. That is a thing of the past. Okay, and let's just go through all of the strats that I have listed in this Google Docs real quick. I'll just go in order at the bottom. Essence, A tier, nothing much to say about it. It's good for farming your initial currency in the league. You can start by just running Essence on your map device, then slowly adding Scarabs as you go. It has guaranteed drops that will always be in demand for crafting, so it's not affected by map quant or modifier effect nerfs. It did receive a slight change with the remnant of corruptions being removed, but nothing too impactful. It's a solid A tier. Shout out to Travic. I've used his video as an example for adaptation farming. And on to Alva. I was one of the first people to discover Evolving Alva, so it breaks my heart to see it essentially last half a league before being gutted, but there's a chance it still lives, although not nearly as good as before, so I've still written up currency and mapping versions for it, just in case. Down here we have Alva Temple Farming, something that is terrible early on in the league, but extremely lucrative when everyone is doing their end of league double corrupt gambles. The farmer has a really great video on this, so shout outs to him. Blight. Now, this is a funny one. The unique Blight farming, which was one of the best farms we had last league, is gone, but the magic version, which in my opinion was still one of the best strats, went untouched. However, it is one of those strats that is heavily nerfed by the quant and map modifier effect nerfs. Therefore, I can in good conscience put the currency version in S tier, so it's sitting at A and might even be lower, but the map farming version, in my opinion, Blight was the best map farming strat in the game last league, and every single map farming strat is affected by the quantum modifier effect nerfs, so Blight should still be the best map farmer in the game, which is why I've got that version in S tier. Both of these strats could drop a tier further though. Shout out to Carnarius for popularizing the strat. Kalguuran Map Farming is another strat that I found. It's a fairly simple map farm that's better the worse your build is. There's a sweet spot. You can't kill the encounters too fast and you can't have too much AoE, but you still need to be able to clear 16.5 maps. So your build needs to be sort of middling. Just like most strats, it'll take a hit, but it should still be fine. It utilizes very cheap scarabs anyway, so there's not much to lose with this one. Not too crazy, a nice B tier. And in the map farming tab, I just combined the Blight and Kalguuran one and then added generic map farming for both 8 mod and tier 17 farming. Maps will always be in demand, even if map farming is not as strong as it once was. The prices will fix itself and it will still be very lucrative. Depending on the new Uber fragments and the loot that those bosses drop, who knows, maybe certain tier 17s get really pricey this league. Shout out to Path of Evening also for the example. On to gold farming. The best way is gilded all flame farming, which it pains me to say will be monopolized by Rotas sellers. I think I was the first person to post about this all flame, and I remember getting an in-game message from someone who had farmed like 10 mirrors by week 3 selling Rotas, and he had some of the craziest MF gear I have ever seen, even on his Merc. The Merc had gear more expensive than any character I've ever built. If you really want gold, buying a Rota is just the best way you can do that. You can do that through certain discords. Ethereal All Flame Farming, a fan favourite. This one should be feeling the quantum modifier effect nerfs quite heavily, which is why I don't have it in S tier, combined with the fact that it is an All Flame which will always be in demand, yet it will always have a much more limited supply than if it was a Scarab. It should still be good, and if it's not, the price will adjust and it will become good. So I've got it in A tier. You should really only ever use this all flame for farming scarabs. It doesn't scale that crazily with more maps or more currency. Deli Orb Farming, this is mainly late league when Deli Orbs are in high demand. It can still be pretty good early on though because it drops a lot of other loot too. It's simple, you do Delirium, you farm the orbs, you sell them. You can do it in yellow tier maps. And if anybody doesn't know, you can also find Aegon, the guy that gives you the memory threads and stuff, in yellow tier maps. So it's a strategy that you can take pretty low and still make a nice chunk of change. I'm putting it in A tier. Onto beasts. This is one that I think might be higher than I've got it at, and I'll probably end up moving it to A tier in all honesty. It sort of follows the same trend as essences, where it's a guaranteed drop that isn't affected by any nerfs and will always be in demand. It's quite good for early currency making and is quite popular early on too. So the scarabs, they might be a bit pricey day 2 and 3, but it's always going to be extremely worth it. You pair it with Svallin hunting and all those Aegon and Go type strategies. B, maybe A tier. I'll bump it up if I need to. Meatsacks F tier. I really recommend watching the video that I made on it to understand the state that it is in if you really care about Meatsacks, but to put it simply, you run it on tier 16.5s, and if you get the right petal modifiers, you can get some crazy loot explosions, but 95% of the time it's not going to line up. If 16.5s ever get buffed to deterministically pick your skill, this will be S tier easily, which is why I even have it included because it has a lot of promise in the future. Kulemak Farming, I've not put in a tier since it's pretty RNG and will feel some of the nerfs in this league. Also, the unique economy is going to be so much different than past leagues, especially with Rogue Exiles being gutted, that I just couldn't confidently place this strategy. Lolcohol made a great video on it. Check him out if you want to know more about it. It's pretty good. It might be the best way to get mirrors this league, but I couldn't place it in a tier. For Betrayal, Gravicious, is that how you say it, got nerfed, and setting up Betrayal can be daunting, so I've opted to just put a zero setup Betrayal strategy here, purely focused on farming all flames and medallions. Medallions did get buffed, so you should be seeing more of them, but I'm also not confident that Ethereal all flames will be as expensive as they were in the past, which is why this is sitting at B tier and not A. Expedition is one of the best early league moneymakers in the game. It falls off a little bit later though. It is extremely hard. You sort of need to know what you're doing with your build, I wouldn't super recommend it as a way to farm currency early for somebody who's new, but if you're experienced, this is easily one of the best ways to farm your initial currency in the first few days of the league. Logbooks should be extremely easy to sell with the new asynchronous changes, which is a massive plus. This is S tier early on, but falls off a little bit later. Harbinger, I'm not a fan. I hate it. Mark said there should be some quality of life coming to Harbinger, I believe, but I've not seen it in the patch notes. It should be coming though. It's a bit better early on in the league since it can drop a good amount of Scarabs, but man, it's outshone by pretty much everything else and is inherently a jackpot farming strat. I've got it here in C tier. On to Harvest, we've got two versions here. Awakened Harvest that utilizes crop rotation, which is S tier. The strategy, it angers me because it sets the price of the Horn Scarab of Awakening and makes all of the other cool crafts just not possible outside of Fractured Farming. You're going to lose money if you ever try to use, the new Imbued Heist, the Imbued Ritual. It sucks. That Scarab's price will always revolve around the profitability of Imbued Harvest, and the Life Force will always be incredibly in demand. So this is just S tier. Cornucopia is a bit lower at B. It can pair nicely with the sort of Aegon and Go strats. This is the strat that you go if you want less RNG and more consistent returns with your farm at the price of less currency per hour. Shoutouts to Buffalo Baron. Dude is awesome and makes some pretty in-depth, informative videos, so make sure to check him out. On to Legion. Everybody knows Legion is the way that you make your day 1 mirror. It's the best day 1 and 2 farm in the game and has been for years, but it falls off quite badly after. Eternal Conflict can still be pretty good no matter what time of league it is, but it demands an extremely good build, likely kitted out with a Headhunter, and at that point you'd probably like to do a different farm. S tier early on, B and C tier later on, depending on which version you do. I've linked to videos from MP and Fubgun as examples, so shout outs to them. Strongboxes, this will be the meta this league, and I think most people know it. Containment farming, man, it just feels like it's been such a massive part of endgame juicing for so long that I'm surprised I'm even still talking about it. I thought it would be gutted by now, but here we are. S tier for high investment, A tier for lower investment. It's just too consistent to be anything else. As for div card farming, the main way to farm div cards themselves is with strongboxes. It's fun, it's rippy, and it requires an extremely powerful build to do. Do it a mausoleum since the boss is a joke and you can only spawn, regular altars. It does use containment scarabs, which is going to be expensive as always, but it's a damn good strat, so I'm plopping it at A tier. Stacked deck farming got a massive quality of life buff, which is more than quality of life. You can open stacked decks much quicker now, which should directly increase the price of them since it's going to be more accessible than ever for gambling addicts to open their thousands of stacked decks. I'm putting it at B tier for now, but it's received a pretty great buff. Ultimatum. Now, Ultimatum's profitability is gated behind its extreme difficulty. However, there are builds that can directly cheese Ultimatum and essentially complete it while AFK. E-Miracles has the build for this. His Cast When Stunned Chieftain is everybody's go-to when it comes to Ultimatum farming. And when you have a build that can AFK farm you Ultimatum, Ultimatum easily becomes S tier. I can't justify putting it any lower with how easily you can access all of the loot it has to give. Again, shoutouts to E-Miracles and shoutout to Ronery also for the example video. And last but not least, well, sort of least, Ritual. The new Spectre update directly nerfs Ritual since there's no need to repurchase the Ritual Spectres anymore. That usually wasn't much of your money from Ritual anyway, so it's not that big. Ritual solid, it's nothing crazy, nothing disappointing. Every now and then you luck into a nameless altar, which is around a 2.5% chance, I believe, And with all the Scarabs, you make multiple Divines in a single map, which is very nice. I'm putting it at B tier. As for Awakened Ritual Farming, this would be insane if the Horn Scarab of Awakening wasn't priced around Imbued Harvest, like I said earlier. I really wish they would like split the Scarab or something, nerf Harvest a little bit maybe, just so we could see other strats shine, but this is sadly F tier as long as Awakened Harvest is around. As for Abyss, Rogue, Exiles, Breach, there's nothing there since their main strats were heavily nerfed or removed. In Breach's case, obviously we're getting Breach 2.0, so this will be updated with everything that gets learned, and hopefully there's some decent strats with, the change to the Edifice Scarab, it spawns minor Stygian Spires, so hopefully there's something there with that too. I'll update these as anything is found. And that's pretty much the video. I wanted to make this just so I had a place to keep every single strategy that I've done and tested, and then I decided to sort of expand it, making it an all-encompassing Google Docs. It's not quite all-encompassing. There are a couple of strategies missing, but hopefully it does become one. Real quickly before I end the video, I do want to ask, what videos do you expect from me this league? What do you want to see? In the past, I've always tried to cover the things that people weren't, push certain strategies, or find new ones, and I'm honestly really happy with the amount I sort of contributed to the game last league. But it felt like there was a lot more to discover, and I got an incredible amount of support on my channel because of it. This league is looking a bit bare on the new strategies. It looks like there won't be many new strategies to discover. So what sort of content would you like to see me go for? Would you like to see me go for comparison videos where I test out last league's nerfed strats now, videos on my Breach 2.0 findings, updating some of my old videos for the new league, or just general, this is how I farmed my so-and-sos, or full-on guides for certain mechanics? I'd love to know the sort of content you'd like to see me have a stab at, even if it's something that I've not usually done before. As always, I'll try my best to discover new things, but I'm not sure there will be much of that this league, so I'd really like to know what you'd like to see me, try. And that's pretty much the video. Hopefully this helped you decide on what you want to farm next league. And if you appreciate this Google Docs, it will be in the description down below, and I will update it and throughout the league and future leagues till the end of time until I stop making videos. Subscribe if you enjoyed. Thanks for watching.